Because I was like, this guy is either, it completely blew my mind.
Okay.
You know, you could go on, could tell everybody about you wake up, you talk about grumpy.
Cranky.
Cranky.
I love it. I love the word cranky because, again, if you open up any physiotherapeutic book or anything, even your school of thought, there's all these words for certain conditions and everything going on. And then as a therapist, you have to remember all these words. And
This is the Justin Blake podcast experience for health professionals that mean business. So wherever you are in the world, listen as we discuss everything you need for you and your health business to survive and thrive. Thanks for listening.
So, afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our second podcast and first musculoskeletal chat. And today I'm delighted to be able to welcome Ronnie Warde, all the way from sunny west of Ireland, Galway City. Ronnie's a movement specialist, and I've known Ronnie. How long have we known each other, Ronnie? Now, probably
too long.
Did you first look at my hip?
Yeah.
I'm bionic.
I could hear you come up the stairs.
Yeah, it was. So that's probably 6 years ago, 6 years or more. So Ronnie, tell us, how are you? How's things in Galway?
All good, man. All good. Just enjoying the good weather. It's since the situation we're in, it's good to talk to someone like yourself and chat about things you want to talk about. So, but yeah, I suppose with usual podcasts, as I said, when someone contacts me about a podcast or something, I hate when people have a script. I like to hear a good conversation, a good chat. So people always start off when, who am I? People don't know me. So my name is Ronnie Warde. I'm at this business, I suppose, not that long, maybe 7-8 years. But what brought me into it was one reason and one reason only. It was like I was struggling with paying myself, and from there, and the work I was at, I was a plumber, and I just was not happy. So I just woke up one day and went, you know what, I'm getting out of this. So as I always say, the decision was easy, but the planning of it was the hard part. And knowing,
but you just didn't one day mild-mannered plumber, next day, pain and movement specialist, like Hong Kong Fooey.
This is exactly how it happened. This is true. This is how quick I go. I came home on a Thursday, and I wasn't feeling well mentally, and I never really down. I was just not feeling well mentally. And I went to bed with no kids at the time, and my wife came home from work, and I was in bed. And she goes, "What's wrong?" And I says, "I'm just fed up with plumbing." She goes, "Go at something else." And I said, "I have no idea." So I had a buddy of mine down on Wexford, and he was a strength and conditioning coach. And he just happened to ring me about different types of training. And I told him, I said, "Look, I don't know what I'm at." And he goes, "Do you know what you should go at? You should go at physical therapy." And I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Because you're always talking about the human body. You're always this. You're always reading books." And he goes, "Do neuromuscular therapy." So I was like, right, I'm hanging up. But look, on the phone, neuromuscular therapy, NTC in Dublin. This was a Thursday. Got the number, rang them, no answer. Friday, I was waiting for 9 o'clock to come. Friday came. I rang them and I said, "I'm looking to do a course." And she was like, "Where do you live?" "Galway." "Oh, the course started 3 weeks ago, so you missed that." Right. I was like, "Where's the next course?" She said, "Well, they're starting in Dublin tomorrow." I says, "I'll be there."
What time?
She was just like that. I was like, just like that. So I jumped in the van with radiators in the back of the van, copper on the roof, drove up to Dublin, and I was sitting in the class. And I remember the guy was going through, I think it was a model of the scapula. And I'm looking at this going, I know what he's talking about. I know the muscles, what he's talking about.
This wasn't just, tell everybody, you competed and ran and, in kettlebell. So you're hiding your light under a bush. You've competed internationally for Ireland.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I did it. it sounds big, but it's not. Like, I did do kettlebells for Ireland, but I'm more into sprinting now. But I've always done sports since I was 6 years old.
You've always done gym. You've always been interested in nutrition, your body, the way things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I know when it's time to change. And as I said, that's why I said at the beginning, the decision was easy, but the transformation was hard. I had 5 guys work for me. And, then I had to go into the whole world of, right, I'm going back reading a book. Now, this is coming from a guy who very rarely read a book. But once I got reading about the human anatomy, the physiology, and so on, that was it. I was gone.
Because the first time I met you, then my anatomy knowledge compared to yours was abysmal, completely. I mean, I remember talking about the way nerves run, and you were like, well, it comes through here and it goes there, and this thing.
Yeah. But I was on the course. Yeah.
This guy has just like swallowed an anatomy. Your encyclopedic knowledge.
Yeah.
For somebody who you say doesn't want to read a book or didn't like to read books.
Yeah, it's like, when you read something, you go, I read this before, but you have to bear in mind, like, as I said, I had lads working for me. At this stage, my wife and myself, we had 2 very young kids. So I was getting up in the morning at 6 a.m. and I was doing 2 hours study before I went to work. I was working, and then I would get home maybe 5:30, and I would study from, say, 5:30 until I had to come to bed. So I would do that for 6 years solid. Boom, 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 boom. No. So
you were doing this. This is while you were doing your training, while you were doing the neuromuscular training, and
okay. This is what I was doing when I was doing neuromuscular therapy. Right? I was. Everyone kind of goes, really? So this is why I hate when people use the word, I don't have time, or an excuse. This is me. This is me. So I was plumbing. I think at that time I had 4 guys. I was a very successful plumber.
This was when Ireland was booming, isn't it?
This was when Ireland was booming, but then it came into the recession. So 2008, 2010, whatever, they were people's worst years, but they were my busiest years. Because I was going up. So, because people were dropping off left, right, and centre, plumbers. But no, Ronnie was flat to the mat. It was crazy. But when I was studying for this, I had, as I said, 2012 was when it really kicked off. Two young kids with my wife. I was studying for NTC, the National Training Centre. Mm-hmm. I was over and back with Tom Myers to be a kinesis myofascial integration, over and back to the States. And on top of that, I was sitting in the van one day, and I turned pages. It was like personal training course. Oh, all right. I always wanted to do that. Rang them up. And again, it's funny, like, when do you start? Tomorrow. I'll be there. Okay. Hung up the phone, went in. So I was doing neuromuscular therapy, KMI, and personal training in the one go. And yet, I remember being in the personal training course, and a few of the younger girls, I was the older person, I think I was 33 at the time, or 34.
Yeah.
And they were saying, I don't know, I haven't got time to do the homework they're given. I'm not going, really, like, come on. But personal training course for me was just a tick in the box. It didn't. Did I learn anything? I had an amazing tutor, Alan Murphy, and he's now a good friend of mine. But it wasn't stressful in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, that's kind of my little journey to where I am now.
But I think a lot of that was because you found it absolutely fascinating.
Oh yeah, I still do. When people say to me at work, I don't know how many times people say to me a week, I'd say you like what you do. Because, and you'll hear it in my voice, I go right up, and even now I get excited, and I'm blah, blah. But that's just, people say it's passion, but yeah, because when you find something, that's it, you're done. So
if you find your purpose, it's not work.
Exactly, yeah, that holds saying, and that holds true. But I came from plumbing. I loved plumbing the first 10, 11 years. Then I did 15 years, and it just was, in my world, it was poison. So I came from that to where I am now, and now I don't work. I just don't work. I just turn up, And well, like it don't work now anyway because
the magic happens.
But it's just brilliant. You meet people. Most of the time, they're really nice people, and other times, you get the mixture.
Yeah, so it's interesting as you say, because I mean, you certainly don't work like a lot of people who you don't call yourself this because you've got this bit of a qualification of paper and that's what you do. Yeah. I mean, you've taken lots of different pieces and like morphed like a lot of very successful. What works for you in your own stage of the journey?
Well, you can say that, but I look at it differently. It's like what works for the client. That's the way I think.
Yes.
It's not one, and that's the big thing that I think a lot of therapists and even myself, like when I finished the last course, I think it was about a year and a half ago or 2 years or whatever, I really had to say, right, how do I develop all that I've done? And I've done a lot of stuff. I've spent over 100,000 euros on courses. I've done a lot of stuff. And it's like, right, in comes Mary, she's 52. In comes John, he's 22. Do I use the same protocol all the time? Okay, let's try that. And that's why I got bored of KMI, because KMI, which is a 12 series session, so you can do a 3 series or a 12 series. It depends what you want to do. But I did a year of that, and I was like going, is that it? Is that all we're supposed to do? Okay. Then this brain of mine was getting very, I won't say bored, but it was like going, right, what's next? And then I went back over to the States studying the nerve and artery stuff with an amazing lady, Kirsten Schumacher.
Yeah, because I remember again, because I did a training, when I went to first see you in Galway, I piggybacked my hip appointment onto the Friday, and then I had the training with you on the Sunday. Yeah. And I can't remember what the technical term was, but you were tapping nerves, and tell us about that.
Well, you see,
I was like, this guy is either. It completely blew my mind.
Okay.
You could go on, tell everybody about you wake up. You talk about grumpy.
Cranky.
Cranky.
I love the word cranky because, again, if you open up any physiotherapeutic book or anything, even your school of thought, there's all these words for certain conditions and everything going on. And then as a therapist, you have to remember all these words. And, even like a grade 1, grade 2, or a grade 3. Now, look at the distinction. Look at what all those mean. It's like, and then someone told me there's actually more grades. It's like, okay, but like, what does that tell me about, what happened or what's happening? And I always find that people forget about the main driver of the bus, which is our nervous system, our brain, and then our 72 kilometers of nerves in the body. 72. And people totally forget about that, and that just blows my mind. And that's when, like, I remember reading John Burrell's book on nerves. And it was one of the first books. There's not many books out there on nerves, but I read that book over and over and over. And I traveled over to the States, and there was a lady in the class, there was 2 of them, but one of them she was teaching. And I started talking to her about nerves, and she looked at me and she goes, how do you know about nerves? And I go, well, I read the book. She goes, you have to come down to my house and you have to work on my leg. So I said, sure, yeah. I went down anyway, and I started working on her leg. And she was like, how do you know all this? I go, well, I read it in the book. And she goes, like, I'm 32 years doing structural integration, and no one has ever done this. And she done a lot of nerve work herself, and she lets no one work on her. Or Lord have mercy on her, she's dead now. But I was working on her leg, and then I was into the class the next day, and then the other teacher was like, did you work on Annie's leg with nerves? I was like, yeah. She was like, you have to come down and show me. And then that's how the nerve work set off. But yeah, it's like a typical example of nerves for me is, the people's complaints and so on. But, you hear people saying, oh, I've done my hamstring. I go, are you sure? I always ask, are you sure? And they go, yeah. And I go, how do you know? But a lot of the times, there's a nerve at the back of the hamstring. It's called the PFC, so the posterior femoral cutaneous nerve. Now, it's a branch of the sciatica nerve. Now, listen to what I said. It's a branch of the sciatica nerve, but it's not the sciatica nerve.
Okay.
You with me?
Yes,
now,
yes.
In comes Martin. He's 60 years of age, and he was at the doctor, and the doctor told him he's sciatica. So I check out his leg, and I go, good news is it's not sciatica. No, the doctor told me it was sciatica. And I go, okay,
must be right.
Yeah, well, you get into all that conversation, but it's like, okay, now, I don't want to really insult this doctor or insult this guy's beliefs and respect for his doctor. Like, I would love to just say, look, your doctor really hasn't got a clue. It's not the sciatica, it's the PFC nerve, and I'll show it. So I start moving the nerve, and I find it, and he go, what's that? And I go, that's your nerve. Work on his nerve. Might take 1 or 2 sessions, whatever. You do other stuff. And he walks around, and he's like going, that's different. But the touch is really soft. That's what got you, because you're used to. And I love all that for the foot.
I'm used to, because coming from more manual and my journey with mobilization and hands-on, and it was like, it was all about freeing up restrictions and getting it, and putting force through. And I mean, from the whole sort of physiotherapy side of thing, again, you said grading, is it Mulligan or whatever, on spinal, it's grade 1, grade 2, grade. Yeah. And I remember a physio mate, Toby, coming back from a spinal surgery thing, and he was like, dude, do you know how deeply, when he saw it on real life surgery, he was like, if I'm pushing a grade 2, I'm doing nothing. It's like, and it was because the anatomy. And I mean, a few years back, because we were lucky enough when I trained, we had an anatomy every week, and we had our own leg. Can't remember what it was called. Right. But again, young students didn't have a clue what we were looking at or doing. We were just cutting bits and things, and we had the leg for the whole year, and it was great. But it wasn't until actually, and it was in Galway again about 7 or 8 years ago, when we actually there was a cadaver course on, and with the knowledge I had, we knew a bit more then, going in and seeing fascial layers and in the actual, and it was just absolutely amazing to actually see it again. You definitely, anybody ever gets a chance, and think they don't, it's just refresh it. And with what you've learned since, you actually, how tightly bound it is, and how the leg compartments and stuff is fascinating.
Well, and that's the thing. But again, you're in the cadaver course, and they go, cut that skin, rip it open, and it's like, what do you have to do? And you're missing the skin. The skin is the biggest organism in the body. Once you touch the skin, you touch the brain. And within all that skin, just beneath it, are all the cutaneous nerves. It's like, wow, you forgot about all them. Now you're going into muscles and bigger nerves. It's like, let's just backtrack a small bit. Let's just see what.
I would have been trying to, whatever ligaments and joint capsule stuff, but if I'm doing that through the cutaneous skin, I'm having an effect on the CNS there.
Absolutely. And no matter what, remember the day I said to you, if you give someone a hug, you affect their nervous system. And I think that got you a small bit.
Ronnie's the hugger. Oh my.
But think of it this way. This is how I view things, right? I view things very simply. There's chiropractors, there's osteopaths, there's acupuncturists, there's physical therapists, there's Reiki, there's this, there's that, there's you name it. We can be here for the next 10 minutes talking. Yeah. What do they all have in common? What does all of those have in common? What would you say it is? It's one word. What's it called? What do they provide?
Stimulus.
There you go. You're learning. So the stimulus. Now, why do we as therapists go off and do all of these fancy courses and everything? Because we have different people coming into us different days, and some of them require different stimuluses. Some of them just require a bit of a chat and a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. Some of them require a hug, or some of them require some mobilization. So if you believe, first of all, and then it goes back into, okay, and you said there, surely if I manipulate the foot, or surely if I manipulate, the question is, how do you know? And you can say to me, I'm at this 30 years, and I go, brilliant, but I'm not saying you're right or I'm wrong or vice versa. But there's just the questions that I just always ask. But what I do know for certain is if I touch the skin, I'm touching the skin. That's it. I'm done. Now, don't get me wrong. I could work on the skin. I always work what I call clear the nerves first. I check the nerves, check the skin. If there's nothing going on there, I'm getting in. I'm working in soft tissue wise. I'm checking ligaments, as best I know it, and then I'm checking out the system. And is there something in the tissues, or is there something bigger, as I call it, coming from the psychological side down? And but the key thing to remember is, there might be up and coming therapists there, is you are a stimulus provider, and it's up to you as a therapist to know and to understand, one, that's correct, but if you give that stimulus into that nervous system, is it what they need and is it what they want right there, right then? Mm-hmm. Or, let me give you another example. You do 15 manipulations on a foot and the client is feeling okay. He leaves it. He hops in the car and he sits in the car and missed call, and it's his lawyer or solicitor and says, that deal came through. You're after getting 1.2 million. And a load of good news comes in. And you text him in 2 days' time and you go, how's the foot? And he go, oh man, my foot is just incredible. And you go, no, that's not a good client. But
the magic happens working again.
he never tells you that he got 1.2 million. Now, same client, you give the adjustment. He leaves the exact same way. He sits in the car. He looks at his phone. Solicitor, you owe 1.2 million. You're now bankrupt. Oh, and then his wife rings him, and his wife says that the dog died. And now you ring him in 2-3 days' time, and you go, how's your foot? Oh, it's worse. So and he's blaming you for his bad foot because he's after giving you X amount of money. You're like going, wow, geez, I did all the manipulations. I did this, I did that. So the stimulus you gave was probably okay, but the stimulus he got when he hopped in the car far outweighed all of the stimuluses you gave. So it wasn't that it was pointless. It was just that's just the way the person is. Does that make sense?
There's two things. What way can we take this now? Because I wanted to go back because I know, and we've talked before, and you've trained some of my guys here, and the whole psychosocial words that use and labels and things as well. But we are going to touch on that. But just into, we're not going to go, our orthotics or an insert in a shoe or even footwear will provide a different stimulus.
Absolutely.
I remember one course years ago, absolutely fascinating. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, it was at the same thing. Again, a biomechanics summer school. Was a guy who only did a half-hour presentation. He worked with cerebral palsy kids. Yeah. All hypertonicity. And he used insoles with little lumps and dells and stuff before and after. And it was just a simple insole with a little lump here and there. And the tonicity just dropped. Boom. Well, how is that? So, and we've had discussions at length about orthotics and expensive bits of carbon fiber and the difference between just a wedge or a heel. So are they just putting a different stimulus impulse into it?
Absolutely.
Because the recent thing on one of the recent podcasts, or the Northern Ireland group, really good evening talks, and one of the guys who owns one of the orthotic labs in Ireland, shout out to Martin McGill, is again, how orthotics work are what we do. They're a load. I think it was they come up now. They're a load modulator, is what they think they are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rather than they're actually realigning. But then I talked to my friend Wayne after and told him that. And if I've misquoted Martin, I'll get pulled up. I'll pull myself up. Wayne was like, Wayne thinks, because I took the piss a couple of years ago on one of the sites, and I was just like, listen, they're just an expensive heel raise and they help you move sagittally better, just to stir the pot a little bit. Wayne now thinks they just help to stabilize a little bit of first ray function.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
He happen. But then again, it's just providing a different input or stimulus into the foot.
Absolutely. Well, plus there's lots going on. First of all, in comes a client and he goes to your clinic and you're providing orthotics. Okay, the first thing you have to do is you have to sell them him. You have to convince them that these orthotics do A, B, C, and D, and E, and F, and G. So now you're a salesman. So he's already convinced himself in his brain, okay, these things must be good. Okay, so now he puts them in his foot and he gets this sense of, well, these are different, but I'm after paying $250, $300 for them. Okay, they have to work. They must work, right? And you meet them and you go, how's the orthotics? Oh, geez, they're uncomfortable. They're a bit uncomfortable. And I see them, they bring them into me and they're like concrete. But again, going back to, it's like which stimulus worked. The stimulus of the therapist's words in the selling of the product, the stimulus of the client who spent a lot of money on the session and on the orthotics, or the orthotics.
Or what's just pumped into my mind, maybe he's gone off and bought a new pair of shoes to put the new orthotics in. It's the shoes that made a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or because I remember after you did some work on me, first of all, you were like, get rid of those shoes because I was wearing them in and they would have had a particular pattern of bend and flex in them and redirecting and stuff. And you were like, get rid of them if you're going to change. I think, am I misquoting now? Yeah, you were like, that's what it was. So, yeah, that was always my journey. I've talked about this before. It was always like, patient comes back in, 2-week review, fingers crossed as they come in. Yeah, they're great, they're fantastic, love them. Yeah. Or else, oh shit. And back to one of these courses, summer school things was, the doctor's guy say he knew there was a problem with the patient orthotics when he came into the practice on Monday morning and the pair of orthotics were tied around a brick and had been thrown through his front window. That's when you know your orthotics haven't worked.
Yeah, and this is me being bluntly honestly, I spoke about orthotics and there are many people out there who got benefit from orthotics, but the people and they have to because they're being used every day, but when you tell someone, when they ask you their orthotics or what you think of them, and I go, okay, this is what I think, and blah, blah, blah. And I always give the comparison of the hand. Can you see my hand there, right? Yeah. So my hand, same amount of bones and joints in my hand as I do in the foot. Okay, it's very simple anatomy. So I'm able to close, I'm able to open. I want my hand to move, okay? I have an orthotic. I put the orthotic on my hand. I now cannot move my hand. Mm-hmm. So the orthotic is restricting the movement in my hand.
Yes. Yeah.
So I ask the client, is that what you want the orthotic to do to your foot? And usually there and then they go, well, what do I, or they say, well, what do you suggest? Movement. I suggest movement. Mm-hmm. So let's remove the orthotics so your foot can move and then move away from the orthotics. And
a colleague recently in Australia said he made his own orthotics and had his own in-house orthotic milling stuff and wore orthotics himself for years. And there was always that sort of thing. It was, you had those patients who could never live without them. And he thought he was like that himself. But then he's gone back to do Muay Thai martial arts now. Okay. And when he first started, he was like, well, shit, I'm not going to be able to wear my orthotics to do that. I mean, he was worried himself. And how was he going to do that? But again, then, obviously, it's barefoot and it's strengthened now. And said his feet have never been in better condition, apart from all the crooked toes he's getting now from kicking people in the side of the head and stuff. But
look at it this way. Sorry to cut in you there. If you're out for your walk there this evening or whatever the weekend, and you see there's a load of people out running, you'll see so many people wearing knee braces. You'll see them in the GA pitch wearing knee braces. And you just say, why do you need that? What's going on with that? Oh, I have a bad knee. Mm-hmm. It's like, who told you your knee's bad? Well, 5-6 years ago, I came down and if I don't have that brace on, I won't play well. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now it's unethical for me to say, just take that off. You don't need that. You have to educate them on why or what might be going on, both psychologically and socially. And then, explain to them that you have a bit of an over-dependence on this thing. It might be restricting you and running fast. And go, what about removing it? Like I remember one guy, he wouldn't take it off. And I go, okay, put it in the back of your shorts. Where in the game, if you need it, put it on. So he got the first half and he put it on the second half. So he did half and half. And he came back about 6 months later and I had forgot all about the brace. And he goes, I'm not wearing the brace. And I was like, oh, yeah, the brace. He was like, I couldn't believe it. He said, it was, when I was playing the game, my brain was saying, like, put it on, put it on, put it on, put it on. And I was like, but he had, like your buddy there, you get an over-dependency on something. And, you know, as I said at the start, you know, it's like, just ask why. What's it for? What are you getting from it? Is it a stimulant? And usually when our brains get used to the same stimulus over and over when you repeat it over and over again. So then you're looking for something else. So it's like, okay, I get something else. But then we become dependent on something. And that can lead into other negative psychological issues going forward, especially for an athlete, you know, especially for an athlete. But like, take one last thing about the orthotics. Like, I got into kind of selling.
Anybody wants to contact me and find out about Ronnie and find out where he is, so you can go round.
But
my colleagues are going to love this, and all the physios out there who have orthotic-based practices. And again, it's nothing like I have given people recommendations to go get orthotics because I feel the need. So I'm not like that. I'm not against anything. Trust me. If you told me you hit someone over the head and it works, I'd be like, brilliant. Do it again and see does it work on someone else. I always question everything. But like I started bringing in carbon fiber insoles, you know, and people would say to me, "How did it work?" My answer was always the same. I don't know. So they were like, but what do you mean? Because I felt if I started telling them what was going to happen, what I felt or whatever, I was the worst salesman ever. But yet they kept selling and I kept having to order them in. And there's not many, I think maybe 2 or 3 people and maybe, I'd say about 150 pairs out. And people love them. They love them. And they're just a flat carbon plate inside.
Very flat carbon. They're paper thin.
Is there any flex in them?
The what?
Is there any flex in them?
Yeah, the new ones we have. Well, it's not me. It's my buddy at Dairy and Bar brings. He sells them to me. But the new ones now, they move with the foot because, as anyone might know, carbon fiber is very brittle. So especially, I'm a sprinter, so I wear them in spikes and they crack. So we were a long time trying to figure out how to not let them crack. But carbon fiber being carbon fiber, if it does crack, just put one end of the top of the shoe, drop down a bit below the transverse arch and put the other bit there, glue it in, and you're way to go. It lasts for ages. You know, it's and they're cheap. They're €40. But my point is that stimulus worked on so many people. I'm talking like guys who were elite 5K runners knocking 20, 30 seconds off their times. And I said nothing. I said no. I wanted to see. It's a big experiment for me because I don't want my words to influence their output. You know.
Yes.
And they'd be texting me going, wow, these things are just incredible. I'm noticing this, and this. I go, okay, cool. That's it. No more, no less. We must sell it. I didn't sell it. And so my point is it's a stimulus. It's still a stimulus. You know?
Yes. And again, so so words are a stimulus.
Oh, yeah.
Tone of delivery is a stimulus.
Well, yeah. Especially when you're dealing with someone in chronic pain, you know, and with me, first of all, the first stimulus is me. I'm 6'3", you know, and you're tall as well. And if I come at someone, you know, I've often said, am I okay in this space? Because number one, I don't know what has been going on or had been going on in their life. Maybe I'm too close. The presence of me is too close. So yeah, I have to check in with that, especially because, as I said, you just don't know. But yeah, how you present yourself, you know, even from just opening up the door, you know, do they put out their hand first? Do they might want to shake your hand? You know,
especially now in these
situations. Especially now, yeah. Well, forget about now. I'm talking about in the real world.
Yeah.
But it's kicking off immediately. But you know, and usually I just sit down and I welcome them and I go. I always kind of say the words, "How can I help you today?" I'm sure I say, "How can I help you today?" Because they could come in with 50 things going on. And they might shout out 50 things. And I go, right, we have 50 minutes left. What would you like to work on today? And then I'll work on that with them. But generally, in the intake, for me, it's the words, it's how they're describing what's going on. That's where I really pick what I need to do. In other words, what's...
I think you've talked about it before. You've got to meet them where they are.
Oh yeah, every day. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I remember one lady, I had her for like 3 or 4 sessions, and on the 5th session, this is spread over a couple of months, and she came in and she was white as a ghost. And she sat down and I said, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hold on a second, stop. There's something wrong." And she had a massive argument with her husband, and he was kind of very aggressive to her. And I was like, "We're just going to cancel this session." No, I need to do this. And I said, no, we're not doing it. So she went from being really lively, bubbly, chatty, listening to, dead in herself. I said, "Look, forget about it, cancel it, and we'll talk again." So again, you don't know what's going on in their lives. And usually, nearly all the time, people who have pain have a load of stuff going on in their lives. It's there for reasons, not for a reason. They're for reasons. So yeah. And
unpacking those reasons.
Yeah, that's the beauty. What I love about it, it's like, so again, I listen to you chat, and
because I remember you're like Ronnie's the guy who's like, the more chronic it is, the more people to see, the more stuff to think. You're just like, come on, that's
But you see that. Simple stuff. But go back to what I told you. I was doing all these courses at once. That's how my brain. I'm a novelty seeker. That's why you said to me at the beginning, or 2 days ago, "What do you want to talk about?" I said, "I don't have no agenda. Let's just talk." That's the buzz in it. That's the buzz. So, and you're more honest that way. You're not. It's not a script. But in between that intake of words, with that, I could be talking to someone for 5 minutes, 50 minutes. To me, it doesn't make a difference. Because the talking is the stimulus, the listening is the stimulus, and I have a whiteboard and I'll write up different words, and I might just write up mother, and I'll draw a circle around the mother, and I'll go, where are we off this? And then people might say, listen to this, they might go, yeah, well, you're getting into areas you're not qualified in. I know my boundaries. That's why I write up on the board, and I always tell them, look, is there something here? And she goes, yeah. And I go, right, you need to, whatever that is, you need to figure that out, because maybe this is the stimulus for her. So that's causing, I suppose, havoc or pain within her internal environment. So I always call them environments. So you have external environment, which is the world, and internal environment, which is what's going on. There's many environments. So she came into my environment, which is my workplace, and there's many environments. So, and it's within that, like, very typical is people who have a fear of movement. They have a fear of doing, bending down. And the biggest one I had, I think it was about 4 or 5 times one week, there was guys, and they're around 30 to 35, and they had young kids, but they had bad backs, and they were afraid to pick up their child, you know. Yeah, this is huge. Like, it's huge. So I would say that to them. I go, what do you like picking up the kid? Oh, I can't. Oh, why? Because you know the way when you bend down, I go, yeah, and you're over the cot, yeah. I know the way the child is heavy. Child heavy, okay, yeah. And you go, like, the back could snap. Nah. So he's in about back pain. So what do I do? Do I get him up on the table and start rubbing his back, putting needles in his back? Or do I bring him out to my little room that I do movement in, and do I get him moving? Do I try and highlight, I suppose, his concerns? Because he's told me, but highlight them and have a chat about them, but then try and help him disprove that what he's saying is not correct. He can bend over. He can move. He can rotate.
How did you get here today? You got in and out of the car, and you put your socks on, and you did this and that and the other.
This is what they're all things that I call big pictures. So anyone who suffers with, and I was one of those who suffers with chronic back pain. I don't anymore, thankfully, but it's like when you get up in the morning and you can put on your socks, you're going to have a good day.
Right.
You're going to have a good day. And when you say that to someone who's in chronic pain, they go, yeah, that's right. Because then they know, they go, have you had back pain? Yeah, I was due for surgery when I was 22 because of pronated discs or pronated. Yeah, pronated, I mean feet now. And all this kind of stuff. And I went through all my 20s with pain, listening to this person, to that person, telling me this, telling me that. And I remember just one day going, this was just before I gave up plumbing, I was like, what they're saying makes no sense. I was lifting weights yesterday in the gym, and now I can't walk. And yet in a week's time, I'll be fine again. Oh, it's just your disc. It's like, really? But they didn't understand that psychologically, I was so stressed with plumbing. I was stressed to the max. Nuts. Owed money, making money, spending money, this, that. It was crazy, the stress I was under. But no one asked me that as a therapist. Well, what kind of work do you do? Oh, I'm a plumber. Oh, I say you make a lot of money. Yeah, I was, but do you not need to know what I work in 90 hours a week? You know?
Yeah.
No one asked me. No one.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And again, that whole, I never realized it. I've done a lot of work with chiropractors over the last number of years. There's vitalistic chiropractors and mechanistic chiropractors. And again, the vitalistic is, are you hydrating enough? And what are you eating right? And enough sleep? And the whole, it's a whole, I mean, there's so many things that we don't take into consideration, And again, back to the, that's it, into the clinic. Well, what's wrong with you? That GP you talked about that told the fella he had the sciatic. Nothing against GP. He didn't put him on the couch and examine him or anything. He just listened to the symptoms and diagnosed him and thing. He didn't put a hand on him, I would nearly guarantee.
If you know that the true symptoms of sciatica, and you hear, if someone can walk up my stairs in my place, and how was the stairs? It wasn't bad. They don't have sciatica. Let me tell you something, because I've had sciatica. In the 7 or 8 years I'm at this, I've only met about 6 people with sciatica. Okay. Nothing touches it. Nothing, no morphine, no drugs, no walk, no stretch, no nothing. It is vicious to a point where it doesn't go away. It stays with you. The sciatica nerve can be compressed anywhere from the head. And I say because I treat all nerves the same, from the head down to the big toe. So if the nerves, because remember, there's 72 kilometers of nerves. They're just named differently. That's from here to Dublin. The what?
I live an hour north of Dublin. From here to Dublin city centre is probably about 72 kilometres.
Yeah.
Or might be getting into South Dublin or heading out to Wicklow type of thing. I mean, that's
it's mad. It's absolutely crazy. And then don't forget you have the arteries. The arteries in the body. There's 500 kilometres of arteries. So the arteries as well. So the arteries and the nerves. I do just keep things really simple in my head.
And nerves activate the arteries as well, and the whole.
Yeah. Well, most nerves have an artery, bar one or two, but most nerves have arteries running with them. They have to for blood supply. Yeah. That's why when you wake up at night, your hand is all sleepy, and then you shake it off. So what's the shaking? The shaking is movement. You shake the hand off. What's gone now again? And you're gone.
There's all that, is that popliteal fossa, or I think it's somewhere up in the groin, I can't remember. It's that vein artery nerve when you're learning your anatomy.
Yes.
They all run with each other. And
absolutely.
So we have touched on it, but back into the cycle. So the label or the language that was used to describe thing. And, I still haven't got a handle on my explanation of it. And somebody just says, but sure, it's arthritis. And there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or we've talked before, I think it was an uncle or relation of yours, said, I snapped my hamstring. Or in half, he said to you, didn't he?
Well, yeah, let's just, we'll put things into context, first of all. There's what most doctors, and I stress the word most, like if you are a doctor or a therapist that uses the psychosocial model, I'm not picking anyone. Trust me, I'm not that type of person. I really am. So you have the biomedical model, which deals with just the human body and is separated up into all its systems. So you have the nervous system, endocrine system. So that's the biomedical model. It's a lovely model for learning on the body. It's just that model. And then you have the biopsychosocial model. Now, this is around since 1977 or something. So it's not that it's new or anything. So pretty much every person, unless they just haven't heard about it, I'll take that for granted. But if you haven't and you're listening to this, then why haven't you? you really should have, like, you know. But the biopsychosocial model takes the biomedical model and it adds on the psychological, which is your thoughts, your fears, your emotions. Now, notice I lowered down my voice to explain this. Your emotions, your expectations, your past experiences, which is a big one. So past experiences is how was your past experience with Justin? I asked the client. He was absolutely amazing. Loved him. Did you go to Jimmy down the road? Hated him. Hated him. You know, did you get any results from him? Results? No, how would I? He's useless. Justin is brilliant. Justin is brilliant. What did he do? Oh, I don't know what he did. So psychologically, they appreciate you, they respect you, and so on. And then labels, as you were saying there, as I said, I don't really deal in labels, you know, arthritis, sciatica. That's why it's like I came up with the thing, cranky nerves. You know, you said to a therapist or said to a client, yeah, it's the nerves and it's cranky. Are you sure it's the nerves? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. You know, but even if you have a ligament that's torn off the bone, guess what? The nerves are going to be involved as well. If you break a leg, guess what? The nerves are going to be involved as well. They have to, because they're sending nociceptive information to the brain and to the spinal cord to the brain back to the spinal cord to the leg. Boom, away you go. There are no pain pathways. There are no pain receptors. There's nothing like that. So people need to learn all that information, because you tell someone, oh, the pain receptors. If some therapist says that, you're going to get the look off me. I'm like, what are you talking about there? Pain what? And you read most anatomy books, they will talk about pain receptors.
Pain gate theory?
Yeah, that's there, yeah, but that's just theory, yeah. Which is the same as the biopsychosocial model. It's a theory. But for me, it's the one of the most recognized and respected. But again, a theory or model, whatever way you want to word it, it still holds very, very true. And what I like about it most is therapists understand, or clients understand it when you explain it to them. And then the last one, which is your social, which is what I call your work, home, and lifestyle. Now, remember I said to you, as soon as that therapist comes in the door, I don't know who she is or who he is, what he is going through, what he has been through. Yep. You know, I'll never forget, this is true. I'll never forget, this man walked into my door, and he was bent over, big man, 63 years of age. He didn't say anything, just sat down in the chair, and I knew, well, there was something big coming. And he looked at me, you know, shaking, and he goes, 52 years ago, my soul was taken from me, from a priest. There's what you call biopsychosocial model in full flight. That man's life has been nothing but torture since then. And, you know, he tried to commit suicide so many times. He was so nervous. I actually had to meet him at 8 o'clock in the morning because he didn't like the traffic. He thought someone was going to hit him. Do you know? Now, people would say...
Had completely taken over every action, everything in his life.
Yeah. Now, you would say to me, but that's outside your jurisdiction. No, I stayed within it. But what I used the biopsychosocial model framework. Remember, the biopsychosocial model is not therapy. It's not a treatment. It's a model. I call it the model of life, because that's what it is. When you're meeting people every day, you're dealing with their life. You said it there earlier. There's so much involved, like water, food. Yeah, that's life. You don't put water in or food in, you ain't living. But what you put in, and then how the system uses that on top of everything else going on, that's what you get presented with, which is AKA your client.
Yes.
So if they come in with a sore foot, yes, it might just be the sore foot, or there might be a whole lot of things going on. So,
yeah.
But, if I can, I think you were saying, going back to the words we use. So
yes.
I have a client coming into me and they're stressed, they're worried, they're anxious, they're fear. They had an MRI done on something. the doctors told him they might need surgery, or that we'll go back. We'll use the story of my wife's uncle. Mm-hmm. He comes to the house.
The one who snapped or tore in half his hamstring. Yeah, him.
Yeah. And he's been coming in, and I seen him Sunday, and I've been listening to him for weeks and weeks, and I wouldn't dare go near him because of the things what was going on. But we finally were in the house anyway, and he walks in, and I could see him. He was limping in. And I said, "How's the hip?" I have to get 2 hips done. Arthritis, the doctor said. I said, "Arthritis? Wow, okay." I said, "Do you mind if I have a look at it?" And he goes, "Would you?" I said, "Yeah." So I got 2 masks, had a look, and I was assessing the hip my way. I was like, "I don't think you have arthritis." Really? And I said, "How do you know that?" I go, "I don't. But I just know from the feel. I've felt people before who have arthritic hips. You have movement, but what your problem is you're not using your hip to the best of your ability. So you're underusing." Now, this is a farmer, 73 years of age. He would often do 18 hours, 16 hours in the tractor. Mm-hmm. And diet wouldn't be great. Living on tea. No, he doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, right? So there you go. But anyway, he goes, "All right." So I showed him some things to do. I said, "Call over to the house tomorrow." So call over to the house and assess his hip again. Big change in the hip. I said, "How's the hip?" And I was able to lift the hip. I was able to lift the leg into the car. I was like, "Any pain?" "Oh, Jesus, no." I was like, "Okay." Well, I brought the MRI report. I said, "Sound." Looked at the MRI report. Now, when I look at an MRI report, I look for 2 things. Cancer and tumour. After that, I just read and I look for the labels. So what it said was, osteophytes. Little thing. Yeah. And it said nothing of arthritis. I read it again. I said, where's the arthritis? It's not saying on that there, no? And I go, "No. Geez, the doctor told me I have arthritic hips and I need 2 hip replacements." Mm-hmm. I said, "Number 1, I told you last night. Number 2, this MRI shows you just have things going on in the hip." But I says, "Let's get moving on that hip." Now, this guy couldn't lift his leg up 4 inches with pain, and he just physically couldn't lift it up. By just doing simple mobilization, but more importantly, educating them, this is what I think is going on. Let's challenge it. How does it feel? Man, he lifts his leg up, right knee up to chest. He goes, "Jesus, what's that about?" And I go, "If it's improved that much, what does that tell you?" "Jesus, I don't think I'm using it as much as I should." There you go. So I gave him movement to do. He's coming back again, I think, tomorrow or the next day, just to have a check, and that's it. It's a classic example.
Yes, scans. Yes, people come in, they bring you in the scan, and they've waited months for the scan, and the scan, and the scan. The scan's not the. Yeah. It's not.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I had a woman not just before the lockdown, and she came in and she had awful pain in her back for ages, and I was able to. I tested her. I don't know how, but I'm fairly good at, and I stress the word guessing, at where the disc is actually damaged or given trouble. And I was able to tell her, because when you move this way, you get a dart. You move that way, and you open up the space. There's no pain. So I drew it out. I said, bang, right there. And she texted me anyway. About a week later, she goes, "I got the MRI results back, and it says I have a bulging disc." And I just texted back, "I know. I told you that 3 days ago." And she was like, "Did you?" she just, because she wanted to believe that there was something much bigger, much more catastrophic. And she goes, "What's next?" And I go, "Nothing. Just stick with what we said." So you're saying movement and this and that. And I go, "Yeah, it's fine what's going on. It's sore, but it's fine. It's pretty normal, you know?" Yeah.
So well, it's not retraining. It's accessing the movement that the body's been guarding against.
Absolutely. So now, first of all, if a client comes into me and I just said to him, "Move," no, I'm not moving. Are you moving? He'd be like, but if I sit them down, have a listen, have a chat, get up on the whiteboard, explain a bit about, protection, explain a bit about pain, explain a bit about fear. Now I put the context in place. See, I have all the content, but now I have the context. Okay?
Yes.
So, and they have all their concepts. So they think it's this, like my uncle-in-law, whatever, he said he has cancer. So I take all those and I remember them in my head, and then I get the clients to challenge those. So I'm challenging their beliefs. I said this on many podcasts before, I don't try and change your belief. I try and challenge your beliefs through words and through movement. So now he might say, I can't bend down and pick stuff off the ground. I haven't been able to do it in 7 years. There is a challenge that I need to figure out. No, maybe he can't. I don't know. But 9 times out of 10, they are. But what I did was beforehand, I might get them to do it and they're not able. And then I'll have a chat with them and then bring them back out again. I usually say stuff like, now knowing all you know, from when you come in the door to now, do you think you'd be able to do this? Well, let's find out. Bang. Down he goes, picks it up. Jesus, I can't believe that. And I go, what has changed? What has changed is his beliefs, his narrative towards what's going on. But you have to go a step further back again. How did he get to those narratives?
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's the words he was told from either his, I was going to say physio, but then I'll get blasted, from his physical therapist, physio, whatever.
But even maybe he even haven't been to the physio. He's having the chat with the guy on the side of the pitch watching the match. The lady down the butcher's told him, oh, that sounds like such and such. My sister had that. You must have that. And then
everyone has that. Everyone's I always say, stop listening to people. Like a quick story, really quick. I had two females who were coming in. I never knew they were sisters, and I was seeing them for 2 sessions each. But they were pretty close together. And I was like going, and they were saying, one of them says, I'm going to walk with my sister tonight. She's going well with you as well. And I go, hold on a second. Are you such and such sister? She goes, yeah. So do you go walking together? Yeah. Now these two were complete catastrophe. Everything was negative about their pain. I go, okay. Rule number 1, stop walking with each other for a solid week. Rule number 2, join back walking in 2 weeks' time, but no talk about pain. And I want to see you both back here in a month.
Yeah.
Guess what? They came back and there was no pain.
Because every time they went for a walk, they were just reinforcing themselves how bad each other was. And probably going, no, I'm worse than you. No, I'm worse than you.
It was a competition. It was a competition to see who's worse. Or as my kids would say, it's who's worser. And again, the words we use, and you could just make a throwaway comment with a patient or something, and they would leave, and again that would put a complete change on that whole work or consultation that you've done with them. Yeah, I always said to my clients, I'm not really interested in what therapists or doctors done with you. I'm interested in what they said, and I want to know why, and I want to know, is there any truth to that? And the only way we know is by challenging it. You'll never hear me say, I'm right. I always try to prove myself wrong. And therapists who have been on my course over the years, the few of them, that took a while, they often said to me at lunchtime, the way you work is wrong. Like, I go, okay. But there and then I'm challenging their beliefs. I'm at them, and then I'll know, and I'll somewhat pick on them for a while, and then all of a sudden it might click with them because, that's just, we like to live in boxes. We like to live in boxes, and don't dare say where I'm living or what I believe in the box is incorrect or whatever. Yeah. I have no problem in people live in boxes, but make the box massive.
Yeah. I mean, it's like heel spurs for Pilates, heel spurs and heel pain. And just I saw one of the rugby dads, I've known Mickey for years, and he phoned me up last Sunday, and it's got so bad now. And chatting, he was 2 years of heel pain, the normal sort of thing. But he went to the GP about a month or so ago, and again, we're not bashing GP, but the GP told him it was a spur, a lump of bone. Yeah. So Mickey's convinced he's got a lump of bone. And we all know that whether there's a spur there or not, that's not the diagnosis of the thing. I don't think I've ever seen one that's been large enough to cause and I've had patients in bone, and even when you send them for an X-ray and you come back and there's no spurs, or they've got a bigger spur on the other one. There's no spurs there. Are you sure? The doc said, the such and such said, I've read it online, it all talks about spurs. Or as I say, but look, or they've got the non-painful foot, but you've got a spur there, and it's the same size, and that's not sore. Or that one's bigger. And so it's and again, but he was, are you sure? He said, maybe he said it was a bit of griffle or something. He's trying to justify it in his mind because I've challenged him. And I've told him whether it's there or not, that's not what's giving you the,
it's only one part of it, you see, but there's a classic example there now of that doctor using the biomedical model.
Yes.
Using the biomedical model. The biomedical model, it doesn't stand on its own. It's pretty useless, to be honest with you, when it comes to treating the person or interacting with the person is a better word to use. Mm-hmm. This is where the biopsychosocial model kicks in. The doctor, when people go into doctors and they say, I'm not feeling well mentally, I'll give you Xanax, medication straight away. And it's like, rather than sitting down and going, how's everything else going on? How's your diet? Are you doing the exercise? How's work? How's things there? And how's family? Yeah. Now we're talking about the big picture, and they just don't do it. They go, I'll give you Xanax and go on it for a month. If you get worse, we'll increase it. Right? Mm-hmm. Talk better. And this is unfortunately what's happening. Like I've said this loads of times, people should not go to doctors for a musculoskeletal problem. They just should not go to them. One, mm-hmm. they're wasting their time, and two, I don't think they're rightly qualified to give that guidance of sort. Mm-hmm. They're a medical doctor. Yes, they can, and they can look at people, but I just think you or I are just more suited for that setup. Yes. And so in other words, if Mary goes to the doctor and he puts her on 12 weeks of pain medication for sciatica, and then she comes into me on the 14th week, and by the end of the 14th week, she's out walking, she's doing her gardening. So in 1 week, there's a big difference. She just have to waste in 12 weeks and being in pain because the doctor just gives her medication.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
And again, we're, people who are listening to this in different countries and different health systems and things and different waiting lists. And we always get somebody that comes in and the issues get so bad, but they've got the surgeon, they've got the appointment of the surgeon, and it's in another 3 or 4 months. And and it's like, well, first of all, do you want surgery? No, I wouldn't want surgery. Well, why are you having a surgical appointment? Because you're going to get a surgical opinion, which is yes surgery or no surgery. And again, that appointment, which, if somebody's lucky enough to live it somewhere which is there's speed or they have health insurance and they have that, but if they're, they have that waiting list, well, first of all, it's thank God I've got that thing, and that takes some pressure off them. But then, if the longer they have to wait, and it's the build up. I'm going to see the surgeon in 6 months. It's 2 months. I can't wait to see him. That type of, and it's but do you want surgery? No, that's you've got to ask them, what can I do for you today? And the surgeon's going to
but you're bang on. It's like I said to people, if you don't want surgery, come into me. And then the client will say to you as well, it's like, I went to the doctor, and would you believe all he gave me was tablets? And I go, hold on a second. Number one, 90% or more of the times, again, nothing against doctors, that is all they can do for you. They will prescribe.
Doctors are gatekeepers. It's either refer or prescribe.
That is it. And I just say, well, what did you want? Did you want a massage off him? Well, I thought he could do. No. What do you want off him? That's exactly his job description. So, and I always, it gets me thinking. Doctors spend between 6 and 10 years in school, right? 6 and 10 years in school, right? Yeah. In comes me back in. The only thing he can do for me is give me drugs. Now I go into another good therapist. He can give me exercises, soft tissue, mobilization, advice. He can spend an hour with me. Wow, I just got a hell of a lot more from that guy than I did the doctor. And I'm feeling a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, and again, that of course is the system, because I know we had practices within very busy GP clinics. They've got 10 minutes. That's all the volume that they've got to get through to, especially, that's it. They don't have the time. They don't have the capacity to go through that.
Well, the truth is, they have the same time as us, but that's the way their profession is set up. It's the same as our you know, I know some amazing chiropractors, and you're not even on the table and you're off the table. That is how it's set up. So to say they don't have time, I don't agree with them. They do have time. They just have to say, Justin is in a 4, Ronnie's in a 5, right? Are they going to get the same amount of money? No. But they do have time. They do have time, but they just don't decide not to.
But of course, then again, I mean, I know in Ireland, just GPs, they're really difficult to recruit GPs, especially in Irish rural areas and things like that. So, you know, the single-handed guy working away in his own, you know, those are, you know, they're a damn sort of breed. That the old family sort of GP is gone. There's such a volume of numbers of people to get through.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But this is what I'm saying. Why are people going to doctors for musculoskeletal problems?
Because doctor knows best, because that's what mum told you. Because that's why do people go to the dentist in the 6 months check? Because when you have a toothache, the dentist. When you have a problem, the doctor. When you have a foot problem, the doctor.
Yes, but it's also the person they trust the most. But I forget the therapist's name, but he was talking on a podcast. I was listening to him, and he goes, "If your client trusts you more than your doctor, you have done a great job as their therapist." Mm-hmm. So in other words, people text me and go, "This is what's going on with me. Do we need to go to the doctor?" And I go, "Do you know what? Come on in, let me check." And I'll know in a few minutes. And nearly all the time, they don't need to go to the doctor.
Yeah, because there's a certain age group of patient that it's gospel.
But absolutely. But it goes back to education. It goes back to giving the client the right information. This is what's going on. This, you know, if this happens again, don't go rushing to the doctor. He's busy doing things. Give me a call. You know, I can see you. We can spend an hour together. I can check in with you tomorrow. And they go, okay, yeah. So it's about re-educating, or, you know, as you said, it's what they used to do. But that needs to start changing. We as therapists we need to say, right, rather than you go to the doctor. And I kind of, when people say to me, I have to go to the doctor, you know, and they're with me, and I go, why did you go to the doctor? I just went because I felt I needed something medication-wise. Okay, totally get that, no problem. But did you go to get a second opinion, or did you go because, no, I just wanted to go and get medication? I go, that's 100%, I totally get that. But they're in looking at me because now can you help me with my pain? See the difference?
Yes.
There's a big difference.
And then Google.
Yeah, Dr. Google.
Dr. Google. How do you think?
Yeah.
Because I remember one guy, you know, we've all had it. Guy sitting in front of me, big ream of paper. I've got a perineal tumor.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, it says here, look here, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Big problem.
What do you need me for? Why are you here?
Yeah, it's.
Well, just before I head off, I just wanted to check.
Oh yeah, it's check this, check that. And
it had turned out 6 months before they'd moved offices, and he was sitting cross-legged.
Oh right, compression. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but I've got a tumor, and I think I'm going to have my leg off. Like.
Yeah, but you see, I bet you a small little wager with you that guy had very little trouble in his health throughout his life, and then something happens like that, and it's like, this never happens to me. This never happens to me. Or then you get the other person who's always injured. There's always stuff going on, and you're like, you know, he's well used to it. So again, it's all about people's perception on what they think it is. And so
but they come in and tell you the diagnosis, and it's like, great, what can I help you for? You've already done that. You know, you've done the job for me.
Yeah. You just give them the money and get a cup of tea in the way, you know. Yeah,
or one of the pediatric guys again on a talk, because there's been lots of great online CPD and lots of things all with this, and groups all over the world. And one of the pediatric guys a week or two ago was talking about, I think it was like, Fiona on the Facebook group says,
No, but they're what I call influencers. So we have to be so careful on who influences, and I always listen to everyone. But I never let, because I had a bit of a valuable lesson in that. I remember I was reading the Tom Myers book, Anatomy Trains, and he influenced me so much that I packed my bags and I headed over to him. you know, and I'll never forget it. He was in the class, and he goes, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Ireland." And he goes to me, he goes, "Why are you here?" You know, he says to me, and I says, "I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn from you." And he goes, "Okay, hope you get something from it." And I was like, wow, he says that to me. But
you've flown across the Atlantic to see him.
And I was that entire course cost me over 40 grand, like, and I was like going, wow, that guy says that to me. Now it turned out it was an amazing course. Would I recommend it? No, it's too much money. But
yeah, the heel pain discussion groups, the public ones that people have set up for heel pain sufferers themselves. Yeah, you should see some of the conversations on there. It's absolutely.
I know. I studied a lot of the pain stuff, as you know, and I kind of moved away from all those because, well, one, it was overload on me because I was at work and I was listening to it and then I was coming home. But you kind of have to do the hours, you have to do the grind to learn that and listen.
Well, no, but this is people talking to each other about, I'm scheduled for a plantar fascia release here, and I had one that was great, and I tried these insoles here, and they were fantastic, and yada da 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 da. And again, it's that whole sort of echo chamber of reinforcing and what works and what doesn't. And you know, somebody was like, I'm scheduled for this, or do you think these insoles would be good for me? And again, there's some people coming on going, absolutely fantastic with the thing. Other people come. I mean, there's so much. Yeah, why? And that was one of the videos I did ages ago. The thing about the, we've got Alan in the coffee shop. Alan, you know what a biomechanical assessment is? Is that something you do with the car?
Yeah, I think that was quite good.
Because the whole therapist, they set up their websites and they have their business, and it's all about the qualifications and the long, complicated words and the things, and the people aren't searching for that. They're searching for, it's been. So, Ronnie. Yeah, we could, as ever with all my guests, we could keep going and going and going. So how can people find out more about you, Ronnie?
Well, the fascinating thing with me is that I have a YouTube channel, and not many people, when I send on the link and they go, "Oh yeah, you have a YouTube channel." I do, and on the YouTube channel there's, I don't know the exact figure, but there's over 100 videos of different types of movements. If you like kettlebells, if you have a sore back, a sore neck, a sore whatever, it's all there on my YouTube channel. I have a Facebook page, Optimum Body. I'm always posting stuff on that, and I'm on Instagram as well. But I keep the more Instagram stuff for more of my training, more of my sprinting. So if you like, I do put more videos up on that. The Facebook page.
You're competing. You're competing, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm a masters sprinter, so I'm 41. So I run an M40s category, and so yeah, I love sprinting. That's why I want to hang up with you pretty quickly and go training, because it's lovely out.
Beautiful, beautiful outside. Yeah, I've got to get out into the garden. And yeah, it's and then again. But as you say, that psychosocial model, just Google it. It's there.
Google the biopsychosocial model. It's phenomenal, and it's something that you really need to dive into. And there's a very good, we talked about Facebook page. It's called Explaining Pain. So that's very good. I would advise people to go back a few years.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a great patient resource as well.
Fantastic. There's a lot of extremely smart guys on that, and ladies, obviously. Doctors, neurologists, rheumatologists, they're just there, and they're all there to promote one thing, which is education. Yes, there's egos on it, but that's with every page. There's some amazing people out there doing amazing things. But I suppose as a therapist, if you have never read anything on the biopsychosocial model, as I said earlier, just give it a couple of years, learn it. It will stand to you. It changed my life.
It's only It's Ronnie, as ever. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Take care, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
So thanks very much, everybody, for listening. Ronnie, if you want to find out information from or how to get in contact with Ronnie, if you sort of missed that, then let me know. And as ever, until next time, thanks very much.